Today is April 29th, 2022, and I wanted to go over a little bit of how I prepared my garden beds for planting this year. Of course, we did some weeding. You want to make sure you get the weeds out. I tried to get all the weeds roots so they wouldn't come back, but weeds are inevitable when you have a garden, so we weeded. And we added in a little bit of peat moss. I added in some granular fertilizer. We have let's see here, the Happy Frog Fruit and Flower 493. I try to stay around a 555. This is the NPK number, the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. When plants first start out, they need a lot of nitrogen to develop the leaves, and then later on they need the phosphorus and potassium for root development and whole plant development. So we put a little bit of that in there. We actually made our own little mix of like peat moss, a little bit of like extra potting soil we had, mixed it all in with some fertilizer, tossed it around a little bit. We did the same all through here, all down the back of the fence line in each bed. So my plans for this year, I had mainly the peppers up against the back of the fence line, and then each bed was filled. So we have 4 beds, or four by 8 beds. Each bed was filled with tomatoes. And the last bed down here had like a pumpkin. We had cucumbers down here on the trellis. These trellises right here that you see are made of cattle panel. I think they're 16 foot. We got a few of those and then just bent them in half, put them down in the ground with these fence posts here, and they make for a great trellis system. And we attach them to the fence post with zip ties. So that works really good. We haven't touched them. They've held up in the weather, the wind, the ice, the snow, everything. They've held. On this trellis last year, I had sugar baby watermelons. I had like 5 or 6 of those. Had a bunch of Kajari melons. I had huge Armenian cucumbers hanging on this one, and then pumpkins and beans on that one. So yeah, they really hold their weight really, really good. But last year I had mainly tomatoes in each bed, but I'm gonna mix it up this year because we had a really bad pest problem. And if you plant all your tomatoes in one spot, all your peppers in one spot, all your squashes in one spot, like say you have a squash bug come in, that squash bug is going to land on one of your squash plants, and then they're going to have access to every single one of your plants right there. But if you have them scattered, everything scattered in different areas, they might find one and they might leave your other ones alone. So that's my plan for this year, is to mix everything up a little bit more than I have been. But I am going to put some sunflowers along the back end right here for sort of a privacy fence. And then in this bed, I don't think I'm going to be doing any radishes or turnips this year. This bed, I'm going to find something to do with it. Maybe some peppers, a mix of some peppers and tomatoes. But we'll see. And then I'm going to plant my herbs down here in this little rim. I'm going to keep my herbs in there. And then I might dig out the rest of this garden bed all the way to the end of the wooden fence line right there. But this year we are not going to be using the buckets, the 5-gallon buckets. They work good, especially for like peppers and stuff. But I don't know, I just think they're kind of ugly. And we have plenty of space for tomatoes and peppers and stuff. So don't think we're going to bother with those this year. And of course, mixed in with all the vegetables and tomatoes, I'm going to plant some flowers. I'm going to have some sunflowers mixed in, coleus in the shady areas. I'm going to have some, of course, marigolds. I'd like to find some African marigolds. I like the really round, puffy, like puffball type marigolds. So definitely put some of those in there. They're supposed to be good companion plants for tomatoes. So, but that's what we're going to be doing with the garden this year. And this is what it looks like while it's really empty. And then at the end of the growing season, or when everything's in full bloom and everything's really nice and lush and healthy, I'm going to do a comparison just to see how this looks. Let me stand back and get a really good view of everything. That's our little garden. Yes, I do live in a house development. I do have an HOA. We can't find anything about gardening in it. That's another reason why I plant a privacy fence, like back along the fence line back there, just to give my neighbors something nice to look at so they don't, hopefully they won't complain. Well, this is year 3 and nobody's complained, so I hope it stays that way.